After 7 decades, Godzilla has finally won an Oscar. I hope that on my 70th birthday I could win some kind of award like that. But, jokes aside, it was a really momentous occasion in the fandom, and I'm so glad that I was able to witness it in real time. Just everyone collectively celebrating, the director and his team going up on stage and accepting their award. And I think there was this moment in his acceptance speech that really made it really sweet.
Allah is proof that everyone has a chance.
And even the crowd applauds in response to that. This movie is proof that everyone has the chance. I love that messaging. I love this idea that there's always opportunity to be had, even if that first opportunity is small. That snowballs into something else, snowballs into something bigger over time. This movie is something that he's been thinking of making for many years, and he's finally had his opportunity to realize it, and the world was there to notice it. In my line of work, I've hired students for 6 years now at this point. I've always worked with students, and one of the things that I've always tried to tell them is that you would be amazed how much this world rewards bravery. Like, can you be brave for the 60 seconds it takes to send an email to a job recruiter or a potential graduate supervisor? Can you be brave for the 5 minutes it might take to chat up, someone attractive at the bar or wherever you're at, and to see if, hey, maybe you can take them out for a date or something? It's a big, scary world out there. It's normal to be nervous about things, but your ability to be brave for very small periods of time can make all the world of difference. And I absolutely love what he has to say about everyone. Everyone has the chance. And as happy as I am to see Godzilla get the recognition that he deserves, I am also dreading what might come of this moment in time and the implications that might follow shortly thereafter. So the first thing I'm worried about is that it gives some of these YouTube grifters, these tourists that have been, visiting our fandom just to shit on some of the projects, it adds more fuel to their fire that they're trying to burn about how, American Godzilla sucks, or there's only 3 Toho movies worth watching. And just for funsies, I decided this morning to look up and see if there were any YouTube videos that were put up just, mere hours after Godzilla Minus One won the Oscar. And sure enough, Godzilla Minus One, Oscar-winning franchise, embarrassing Hollywood once again. And it's like, okay, just listen to me for a second. So let me tell you a story. Back in high school, I worked with a partner on a project that was also a competition in the class of which team could design the wheel that would roll down the ramp the fastest. And, you might initially think, well, don't all wheels roll down ramps at basically the same rate? And the answer is no, as it turns out that if you have a wheel where the center is much, much heavier relative to the outside, the rim, those wheels will roll faster than wheels that have heavier rims and lighter relative centers. I was in a team with one of my very close friends from high school, and we were up against this other team of 2 of the smartest kids in the class. Like, these 2 guys, they could go on to do PhDs if they wanted to, and they would have no problem with that. I was not that person. And every class that we worked on this project, we just had to hear them talking about how they were going to use Teflon on the wheels to reduce the friction and all the things that they were doing to design their wheel to make sure this was the wheel that would beat the rest of the class. So competition day comes, and before me and my friend can even get a chance to put our wheel up against these guys, this other team goes up against this one dude who, he wasn't a class clown. He was just kind of goofy. He was smart. Not as smart as the 2 guys, but he was smart. He was just kind of a goofball. And this goofball, his wheel consisted of, I shit you not, a copper tube between 2 peanut butter lids. And to make sure that they stayed together, he used painter's tape to connect the lids together. And we all laughed because it was ridiculous. Clearly he waited till the last second and he came up with this thing that cost him approximately $5 at Home Depot. And sure enough, he went up against the team of 2 smart guys who paid a bunch of money, over-designed the hell out of their wheel to make sure everything would work well, and they lost to the peanut butter lid copper pipe. That is an embarrassing defeat. This, losing to Godzilla Minus One, That is not an embarrassing defeat. You went up against clearly a masterful team that put this movie together. I would not be embarrassed if I put up a movie against Godzilla -1 and lost. Like, it's ridiculous. Now you might say the embarrassing part is that Godzilla -1 was able to do so much with so little. They had a budget of under 15 million US dollars. They had a VFX team of like, what was it, like 50 people, maybe even less than that. And you say the embarrassment comes from the fact that they were able to make their movie look so much better than modern Hollywood with so much less money. And I would like to remind you folks that this is their competition. Even Disney's CEO has come forward saying, yeah, our recent output has been well below standards, and we're gonna focus on quality over quantity. So again, you don't need to say that -1 winning is an embarrassment. I feel like that really degrades the quality of film that -1 is by saying that it's embarrassing Hollywood by winning. I just remembered that Godzilla x Kong, like Godzilla x Kong, The New Empire comes out in about 2.5 weeks, and I can already, you probably see this too, you already know what the thumbnails are going to be if the relative financial success of that movie is not anywhere close to -1, right? Like you see the YouTube title, it's like how Western Godzilla failed Toho Godzilla or whatever. There's gonna be those assholes saying like they made Godzilla pink because he's being feminized. I'm very excited for The New Empire because I feel like it's going to be a 2-hour shut your brain off, eat some popcorn and enjoy the movie type of experience. I am not looking forward to the weeks that follow that movie and the discourse that will be online, because the discourse in the weeks leading up to that film are already driving me crazy. And I just hope to see as little mention of -1 in the reviews of The New Empire as possible. Before I get to the second point that I'm worried about, I just wanted to sort of give myself a little bit of a shout out and say, I put up a video with my wife and my best friend eating Godzilla flavored hot sauces and trying to map out which character belonged to which sauce. Because I put out that video earlier this week and the YouTube algorithm absolutely devastated it. So if you haven't checked it out, I'm going to put the link in the description. If you could check it out, that would really make me feel better, because it was a lot of fun and a lot of work to edit, and I don't know why it flatlined. Thank you so much to those who decided to check it out. So anyway, the second thing that I'm really concerned about as we celebrate the success of -1, I am really worried about sequelitis. I feel as though there is this pressure from companies, from industries, that when something does well, when it sells well, when it makes a lot of money, that there needs to be a follow-up, but there needs to be a second thing to capitalize on that hype and on that success. Sometimes it works, and sometimes it doesn't work, and it might even dilute the reputation of the thing that came before that actually did work well. Just for funsies, I decided to look up this list of like the greatest movies to have really terrible sequels, and some of these like I was very familiar with, right? Like there was The Matrix, yeah, Speed, I was aware of, Miss Congeniality, like okay, I've heard of Miss Congeniality too here and there. But then we got to number 6 at Mulan. I never knew that Mulan had a sequel. American Psycho, never knew that it had a sequel. Blues Brothers, don't really know what that movie is. The Exorcist, again, Interview with a Vampire. I didn't know that most of these movies had sequels. I'm very familiar with the reputation of these films, even if I haven't seen them, but I had no idea that they had sequels. Now, maybe that is to say that if, you know, Godzilla -2 comes out, that if it does fail to live up to the hype of the first one, that perhaps the legacy of the first one will not be tarnished. But you might also run into a situation like Pacific Rim Uprising, where you kill off characters from the first movie who were completely fine riding off into the sunset, and overall you might not damage the general audience's perspective of that film. The fan base, as volatile of a fan base Godzilla fans can be, they will never forget that. Now, the director does seem to be relatively optimistic about a sequel and what he would plan to do with it. And so that does have me hopeful that, you know, it's not something where Toho would drag him back into the director's seat. He seems very open to the challenge. And he's talked about how he doesn't think that, and I think he's correct, that Godzilla movies that feature multiple monsters in combat with one another, they don't do the best job of conveying the human story and the human emotion through it, and that he's up to the challenge. I don't know if he's going to be able to crack the code, but what I do know is that if anybody was going to do it, I would trust this man. So if Toho does decide to push for a Godzilla -2, my hope is that they give this man a blank check and they leave him the fuck alone so he can decide and pursue his vision of what that movie should be. So what do you hope to see in a Godzilla -2? Do you want it to borrow a chapter from Shin Godzilla and have Noriko become a Godzilla herself and start a rampage? Which kaiju would you have see fight Godzilla? Let me know in the comment section down below. Thank you to all the Category 3 channel members for their continued support, as well as everyone else that watches, comments, and likes on these videos. All of your support is so immensely appreciated. Twitter and Discord links are down below. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll talk to you again soon.